This girl, wanting to save her seriously ill younger sister, crossed the border into South Korea to find medicine. Her beautiful appearance immediately attracted the attention of human traffickers. Knowing her purpose, they lured her with promises of precious medicine. Without thinking much, she got into the car with them. Along the way, the two traffickers kept saying meaningless things. This made her a little uneasy, but she still wanted to go with them to the end. Fortunately, a call came in. Her superior told her to return to handle an urgent matter, so she had to temporarily return. Hearing this, the traffickers immediately turned against her and wouldn't let her get out of the car. Unexpectedly, the two men were immediately subdued by the young girl and pushed out of the car, falling to the ground. Only then did they realize that the person they were targeting was not a weak prey, but a female special agent. The city of Pyeongchang shone brightly at night, preparing for the biggest music event of the year. Mayor Lee considered this her last chance to promote the city's image. Therefore, she poured all her heart into the music event to ensure no mistakes occurred. When the opening performance began, the voice of the famous male singer immediately ignited the atmosphere. Tens of thousands of spectators cheered. Seeing this, Mayor Lee smiled with satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. At that moment, a garbage truck unexpectedly pulled into the gate. The security team only conducted a cursory check before allowing it in. Unbeknownst to them, this was the beginning of a nightmare. The truck door swung open, and a group of terrorists armed with guns and bombs jumped out. The amount of explosives they carried was enough to flatten the entire theater in an instant. On the rooftop, the mastermind watched with a cold gaze. The clock on his wrist was ticking down. In just 1 hour, Pyeongchang would be engulfed in flames. Meanwhile, inside the hall, the audience continued to dance to the music without a care in the world. The bad news quickly reached the mayor. Clearly, this wasn't an unexpected incident, but a carefully planned scheme. In this critical situation, the military chief suggested the mayor retreat to save her life, but Mayor Lee resolutely refused. She insisted that she must stay where the people were. Her firm response silenced everyone. At this critical moment, the military chief suddenly proposed a bold solution. They needed to activate Special Task Force 8, the city's most elite force. Secretary Kang immediately objected strongly, fearing that revealing this secret would cause chaos and have unforeseen consequences. Nevertheless, Mayor Lee decided to accept, as there was no other option. Immediately, members of the Special Task Force appeared. They silently entered, simultaneously eliminating the terrorists and defusing the bomb. The plan was to eliminate all danger within 30 minutes. Amidst the chaotic crowd, the commando team leader unexpectedly charged into battle. Without guns or knives, using only their bare hands, they fought the heavily armed criminal to a draw. After a series of powerful blows, the team leader broke the criminal's arm. As a result, the criminal fled in humiliation. On the rooftop, the mastermind received this news. Although furious, he had to order a retreat. The pop star's performance ended amidst the thunderous cheers of the audience. He bowed to everyone and strode off the stage. He even winked at the female singer standing next to him. In reality, it was a signal for a shady deal. In the deserted hallway, Lloyd hurried to avoid the crowd. However, he could not escape the watchful eye of the military chief. Reaching the parking lot, Lloyd encountered the singer from earlier. They weren't lovers, but business partners. Lloyd's unusual fascination with rare and exotic guns had drawn him to her. Enchanted by the famous singer, she readily agreed without hesitation. In the cramped confines of the car, she tried to seduce him, but he coldly rejected her with a look of contempt. Just then, reporters swarmed the car, suspecting the two were up to something illicit. Suddenly, the special forces arrived and dragged them out. Lloyd's gun fell to the ground and was instantly smashed by the special forces. Enraged, Lloyd ripped off the special forces officer's face covering. The cloth fell, revealing the beautiful face of female special forces officer Young Ha. Her beauty stunned him. She sternly warned him that she was ready to bring him down if he dared to make a move. The special forces team behind them quickly confiscated the reporter's cameras and erased all incriminating evidence. Lloyd gritted his teeth, vowing revenge for anyone who dared to destroy his treasure. The singer seized the opportunity to hug Lloyd tightly, comforting him. Camera lenses flashed continuously, turning that moment into breaking news. But Lloyd didn't care about the scandal or public opinion. In his mind, only the face of the female special agent remained. He swore that their next meeting wouldn't be for negotiation, but for revenge. In the parking garage, the sound of metal clashing echoed. Lloyd unexpectedly saw the female special agent confronting a tall, burly man. She was unarmed, but each blow she delivered was swift and powerful. Just as Young Ha thought she had subdued her opponent, he suddenly grabbed a knife that had fallen to the ground. He lunged from behind, intending to stab her fatally. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Lloyd's warning saved her life, but Lloyd knew this action would cost him dearly. Just then, Lloyd's manager arrived and took him away. Lloyd wondered why he had saved her, when his original purpose was revenge. Elsewhere, the flashlights were flashing incessantly. Before dozens of cameras, the singer burst into tears. She was holding a press conference to clarify all the rumors. Trembling, she said that there was no romantic relationship between her and Lloyd. It was all just him taking advantage of her feelings. Her tears immediately caused a public uproar. In just one night, Lloyd's career suddenly vanished. Enraged fans cursed him as a scoundrel. All his shows were canceled. His manager watched helplessly as Lloyd's singing career was ruined. Yet Lloyd remained strangely calm. He even considered withdrawing from showbiz and returning to his hometown to live a simple life. But Young Ha's image continued to haunt Lloyd's mind. In his crisis, she was the only thing he couldn't shake off. In Pyeongchang, the atmosphere in the meeting room was incredibly tense. Mayor Lee sternly stated that they needed to build up a military force in the city to counter terrorism. However, the man beside her said that if North and South Korea didn't reach an agreement, Pyeongchang would be considered a rebel zone. At that point, Their city would even face the risk of being razed to the ground by the armies of both sides. South Korea was easier to persuade, as they always emphasized military strength and could send Secretary Kang to negotiate. But North Korea was different. They were cold, unpredictable, and full of schemes. Therefore, this dangerous task was assigned to the head of the military department. Upon returning to base, the head of the military department was stunned by the sight he saw. The Special Forces team captured a young girl from South Korea who was acting as an intelligence agent. She was the one who had called to report the terrorist attack. Meanwhile, Young-ha searched the loot and discovered a walkie-talkie belonging to the terrorists. At a glance, she recognized it as identical to the one used by the violent underground organization. Knowing this couldn't be leaked, the military chief lowered his voice and instructed Young-ha to keep it absolutely secret. They had to first track down the terrorists before they could report to the mayor. Hearing this, Young-ha could only nod in obedience. Meanwhile, the terrorists suddenly fell silent after their failed operation. Their leader was furious. He immediately ordered that the mole who dared to leak information about this operation be found. At the same time, Lloyd received a phone call from the director. The commander ordered Lloyd to temporarily go into hiding by joining the newly formed army in Pyeongchang. Lloyd had no other choice but to agree, but the place quickly drained his strength and spirit. The harsh training exhausted Lloyd to the point where he had to beg the commander to let him out. But the army wasn't a place of free access, so even the commander was powerless. In desperation, Lloyd went for a walk and unexpectedly ran into Young-ha. However, they didn't recognize each other. That night, Lloyd was sent to the assembly area to participate in a special counter-terrorism training exercise. The next day, a resounding explosion marked the beginning of a simulated battle. With his first experience of the smoke and fire, Lloyd was quickly left behind. In contrast, Young-ha commanded the combat group like a true general. She skillfully used mirrors to spot the enemy, then assigned her teammates to attack precisely. Lloyd was fortunate to be in the same group as Young-ha, so he received enthusiastic support. With each step forward, Young-ha not only helped him overcome obstacles, but also taught him how to strike, how to shoot, and how to survive. The other teammates were also doing well. No one had fallen yet. As they moved towards the rendezvous point, the atmosphere suddenly became chaotic. Two soldiers vied for the opportunity to shoot the enemy. An enemy took advantage of the situation, aiming from a distance, but Young-ha quickly neutralized him before the bullet left the barrel. However, the danger didn't stop there. Young-ha briefly saw a flash of light aimed directly at Lloyd. She shouted a warning, but it was too late. Gunshots rang out. Lloyd was hit and fell. In his delirium, memories flooded back. Finally, Lloyd remembered that Young-ha was the female Special Forces captain who had destroyed his favorite gun. But this time, Lloyd had no chance to get revenge. Young-ha decisively defeated the last enemy and ran to Lloyd's side. Instead of embracing Lloyd, Young-ha calmly kicked him hard. Lloyd jolted awake from his stupor. It turned out that it was all just special training and the bullet was fake. The only thing Lloyd lost was his composure. Young-ha gathered the team. She announced that the enemy had been eliminated and the training operation was a success. Lloyd was furious because only he thought it was a real battle. Young-ha didn't care. She ordered everyone to disperse. Lloyd took off his hat and loudly questioned her if she recognized him. But Young-ha had absolutely no recollection of him. She reminded them that Comrade Lloyd had sacrificed himself in battle that day and that it was everyone's shared responsibility. Therefore, she punished the entire team by making them run back to the barracks. Although exhausted after training, everyone was forced to obey their captain's order. Elsewhere, Mayor Lee was meeting with Secretary Kang and the head of the military department. Hearing that Lloyd was participating in training, Mayor Lee was overjoyed. Lloyd's popularity would contribute to promoting Pyeongchang's military plans. Secretary Kang proudly claimed credit for bringing Lloyd there, but the head of the military department immediately stated that Lloyd had fainted on the very first day. This disappointed both Secretary Kang and the mayor. Fortunately, it was only training and not a real battle. Secretary Kang then warned the head of the military department that Lloyd was the face of Pyeongchang, and therefore, he absolutely could not allow Lloyd to be injured or even have a scar. Meanwhile, Lloyd and his comrades were marching back, while Young-ha sat in the car ahead. At that moment, Young-ha received orders from her superiors to monitor Lloyd. According to the young informant's testimony, she was there to watch Lloyd perform. This aroused suspicion in the military chief that Lloyd might be involved in terrorism. However, given Lloyd's frail condition, where even walking causes cramps, it was hard to believe he could accomplish anything. Shunned by his comrades, Lloyd could only stand up and continue walking on his own. Elsewhere, Secretary Kang entered the cell, intending to interrogate the young informant further. He knew she was the one who provided the terrorist information, but wanting to protect her idol, she resolutely refused to speak. She hated those who considered themselves righteous, but in reality, imprisoned others without justifiable reason. But those words weren't enough to win her trust. Seeing this, Secretary Kang suddenly changed his tone. He asked her if she believed in her idol. Then he offered to arrange a meeting between the girl and Lloyd, even if only once. Meanwhile, at a dilapidated bar, the terrorist leader personally delivered a shipment to a bald man. The bar's basement was their secret base, where they had identified the informant. They even discovered the young spy had hacked into the secret list. Enraged, the leader ordered his subordinates to find her. This was easy enough, as Secretary Kang had a terrorist mole right beside her. She claimed no one else had touched the secret list, but the leader still decided to act immediately. That night, the troops returned to the barracks, but Lloyd was missing. Upon receiving the news, Young-ha immediately reported to the military chief. He ordered that Lloyd be found at all costs, and if found, taught a lesson. Meanwhile, the terrorists chased Lloyd all the way to the beach. Only then did the leader realize they had been tricked. He asked who they were. Lloyd was somewhat disappointed disappointed that they hadn't recognized a famous singer like him. In desperation, Lloyd raised his gun and pointed it at the terrorists, but they laughed because a quick glance was enough for them to know it was a fake bullet. Confused, Lloyd dropped his gun and raised his hands in surrender. Seeing this, the terrorists rushed forward, intending to beat Lloyd up. Just then, the sound of an engine roared. A motorcycle sped towards them, knocking the terrorists to the ground. When the helmets were removed, Lloyd was stunned to find that his savior was Young Ha. Without hesitation, she grabbed one of the terrorists hostage. She glared at Lloyd and demanded that he confess everything, but the leader of the terrorist group gave them no chance. He fired a shot at Young Ha. She recognized him at a glance. He was from Unit 112. In other words, he was her enemy, and he wouldn't let her survive. In that critical moment, Young Ha gripped Lloyd's arm and pulled him straight into the sea. A barrage of bullets hit the water, sending white foam flying. Under the icy water, Young Ha gestured for Lloyd to swim, but he only struggled, choking on water, and gradually lost consciousness. With no other choice, she surfaced to gasp for air before diving back down. In the water, she pressed her lips against his to give him her last breath, hoping to keep him alive. Young Ha never imagined her first kiss would be lost in such an awkward situation. The terrorists couldn't find Lloyd and Young Ha, so they returned to report to their leader. He knew his subordinates had encountered Young Ha. Back in reality, Lloyd and Young Ha pulled each other ashore. Knowing they were being hunted, the singer kept talking incessantly. Young Ha looked around before finally lying down to rest. Lloyd recounted what had happened. Young Ha saw that Lloyd's willingness to sacrifice for others proved he was also a courageous man. Lloyd was still worried about the young intelligence agent. He wanted to know if she was safe. After returning to the camp, he would definitely go find her. At this moment, Lloyd discovered that Young Ha was seriously injured. She was also gradually becoming exhausted and fainted. Lloyd let Young Ha lean on his shoulder. He anxiously tried to administer first aid. He was a certified rescuer, but now he was extremely flustered. Young Ha fell into a coma. She remembered the painful past of her family. Lloyd saw that Young Ha had a high fever and wanted to go find help, but Young Ha held Lloyd's hand and begged him not to leave her alone. Lloyd was in a difficult position. He had no choice but to carry Young Ha with him. Meanwhile, the military chief, seeing that Young Ha and Lloyd had not returned and that the radio communication had been lost, began to worry. He immediately ordered his subordinates to search for them. Later, the military chief went to see Secretary Kang. Secretary Kang had discovered the mole. She was from the Violet organization. She was the one who had secretly taken the young intelligence agent away. The military chief angrily questioned why Secretary Kang didn't know about the mole right beside him and why they hadn't apprehended her yet. Secretary Kang suspected there was more than one mole, so he didn't want to act openly for the time being. The military chief let Secretary Kang handle it himself. He had to find Lloyd and Young Ha first. Afterward, the military chief went to the troop assembly, furious that he still hadn't seen the results he expected. He declared that the soldiers had 24 hours to find them. While everyone felt helpless and exhausted, Lloyd and Young Ha suddenly appeared. They were immediately taken to the hospital. The next day, Lloyd woke up in the hospital, thinking that what had happened the night before was just a dream. But Young Ha, lying in the next bed, scolded Lloyd, calling him a braggart. He claimed he had a rescue certification, yet didn't know first aid. Lloyd proudly asserted that without him, Young Ha might have lost her life. The two argued for a while. The doctor came in and said Lloyd was only slightly injured and could be discharged tomorrow, but Lloyd pretended to be sick because he didn't want to leave yet. Young Ha then mocked Lloyd. Meanwhile, Mayor Lee was meeting with two subordinates. Secretary Kang said the incident was caused by the Violet organization. They were actually terrorists opposing North and South reunification. All the members were North Koreans. The head of the military department reacted, revealing that he was also North Korean. He claimed they were just defectors being manipulated. Mayor Lee ordered a search for the mastermind behind Violet and then dismissed his subordinates. Afterwards, Secretary Kang went to the hospital to visit Lloyd. Incidentally, he invited reporters to promote the campaign to build a unified unit. Lloyd wasn't happy about going to military service, but he forced a smile to maintain his image. He told his fans to wait for him to finish his service and return. Young Ha found his pretense utterly contemptible. She decided to go for a walk alone, unexpectedly encountering the two human traffickers. As soon as they saw Young Ha, they panicked and fled. But Young Ha chased after them relentlessly, then suddenly appeared behind them. She still believed the traffickers were selling heart medication. They took a chance and tricked Young Ha again. The man offered a bottle of medicine, claiming it was a miracle cure, priced at 1,000,000 won per bottle. After finishing his interview, Lloyd discovered Young Ha wasn't in the room. He rushed out to find her. Seeing Young Ha being scammed, Lloyd intervened to help. The woman who had been scammed then recognized the famous singer. She was extremely agitated and immediately gave Lloyd the bottle of medicine. The man, too weary to say anything more, simply pulled her away. At this point, Young Ha became angry with Lloyd for interfering in her affairs. Lloyd simply poured out the medicine and reminded her that it was a scam, but Young Ha still refused to believe him. She suddenly burst into tears. Only then did Lloyd realize that the person Young Ha wanted to save must be very important. He followed her to apologize, but she ignored him. Suddenly, Young Ha saw an acquaintance, Comrade Jae-hoon from Unit 112. He was also the leader of the terrorist group. Jae-hoon approached and hugged Young Ha, which disappointed Lloyd somewhat. Lloyd quickly pulled Jae-hoon aside, claiming Young Ha was injured. Lloyd asked Young Ha which unit the man was from. Jae-hoon introduced himself, but Young Ha didn't want to talk much with Lloyd, so she immediately pulled Jae-hoon away. This infuriated Lloyd. He decided to follow them to see what their relationship was. Jae-hoon was lifting his shirt to show Young Ha a scar. However, Lloyd thought Jae-hoon was a pervert. He immediately rushed in to rescue Young Ha by sitting between between the two of them. Jae-hoon called Lloyd rude. Lloyd retorted that Jae-hoon was the one who was rude for lifting his shirt to show a woman's scar in public. Young-ha and Jae-hoon couldn't help but stand up. Lloyd still insisted on asking Young-ha and Jae-hoon what their relationship was. Jae-hoon asked why they had to tell him. Lloyd had to admit that this was an extremely important matter in his life. Afraid Jae-hoon would misunderstand, Young-ha quickly explained that Lloyd was just her subordinate. Jae-hoon politely asked Lloyd to leave. Lloyd immediately agreed, but he had to take Young-ha with him. Jae-hoon held Lloyd back. Luckily, a beautiful girl came to Lloyd's rescue. Lloyd thought she was a fan and was about to give her an autograph. When the girl gave him her business card, he realized she was Lawyer Seo from an entertainment company. Young-ha and Jae-hoon helplessly concluded that Lloyd was delusional about his own popularity. Lloyd felt a little embarrassed, so he let the two of them leave. Young-ha told Jae-hoon that Lloyd was a weak, talkative man, but in Jae-hoon's eyes, Lloyd was brave. Few people would dare to stand up and save a little girl they didn't know. At this time, Jae-hoon also had to leave. He gave Young-ha his business card and invited her to his bar for a talk. Meanwhile, Lloyd was talking to Lawyer Seo in the hospital room. He said he wanted to escape the training camp and that his placement there was due to some kind of conspiracy. Hearing Lloyd's story, Lawyer Seo also sensed something was amiss. She promised to investigate thoroughly and help him get out of his current situation. Lawyer Seo left just as Young-ha entered the room. Young-ha and Lloyd immediately started arguing. On another note, the young spy had escaped. She was now at a store buying a disposable SIM card and calling Jae-hoon. She begged Jae-hoon to spare her. The little girl promised to disappear forever. But Jae-hoon wanted her to bring back the secret list. Otherwise, he would kidnap her idol. The little girl warned Jae-hoon that if he dared touch Lloyd, she wouldn't let him get away with it. However, Jae-hoon didn't care. He started monitoring the hospital and even sent people to infiltrate it. That night, Lloyd dreamt of kissing Young-ha in the water. Lloyd woke up in a panic and told himself not to have such thoughts anymore. How could he possibly move the heart of the cold female commander? Suddenly, Lloyd heard a sound beside him. It turned out Young-ha was having a nightmare. It wasn't that she lacked feelings, it's just that she didn't usually show them. Lloyd gave Young-ha a teddy bear to hug to help her sleep, but she grabbed his hand. He sat beside the bed and let her hold his hand. The next day, Young-ha woke up and saw the scene, and she immediately panicked. She thought Lloyd was taking advantage of her. He immediately explained everything to Young-ha. She knew the truth was embarrassing, but she pretended not to believe it. Lloyd gave her a teddy bear, saying that his hands weren't always available, so she could just hug the teddy bear while she slept. Young-ha said she didn't need it. Suddenly, she received a phone call. She immediately ran outside. Lloyd followed to see what was going on. He saw Young-ha happily talking to someone. That image was nothing like the usual cold and aloof female commander. He assumed the person on the other end of the line was Jae-hoon. Lloyd, consumed by jealousy, vented his anger on the vending machine. Young-ha saw it, but didn't care. Lloyd returned to his room feeling resentful and found the doctor looking for Young-ha. He asked the doctor and knew that Young-ha's condition hadn't improved, yet she hadn't listened to him. Typical North Korean. The doctor's words angered Lloyd. Now that it was peacetime, Lloyd thought they shouldn't differentiate between North and South anymore. Just then, Young-ha walked in. She asked the doctor to prepare bandages, as she needed to go out. Young-ha pulled back the curtain to change clothes. When she opened the curtain, Lloyd immediately stared at her. He never expected the cold female commander to be so beautiful. Lloyd thought Young-ha was going to meet Jae-hoon. He became jealous and quickly tried to stop her, but Young-ha ignored Lloyd. Lloyd's manager just came in, so Lloyd snatched the manager's clothes and ran after Young-ha. That evening, the terrorist captain broke into the hospital with the intention of dealing with Lloyd, but Lloyd wasn't in the room. Lloyd was still secretly following Young-ha, but unfortunately, she discovered him. Young-ha told Lloyd that if he had recovered and could run around, he should return to the training camp. After saying that, Young-ha forcibly took Lloyd away. Lloyd immediately resisted, pushing Young-ha into the car. He said that he knew she was injured and weak, but he would still obey her. First, he wanted to go back to the hospital to get his things. Then they would return together. Suddenly, someone fell from the upper floor. Lloyd recognized the young intelligence officer. Lloyd and Young-ha quickly took her to the emergency room. They waited outside, worried that something bad might happen to her. Lloyd wanted to stay at the hospital to see how things were, but Young-ha immediately reminded him that he had to return to the barracks on time for roll call. She left first, and he hurriedly followed her, saying that the girl's accident was unusual. She understood and had sent someone to investigate, but she said it wasn't something Lloyd needed to worry about. Then, his teammates came to pick him up. Although unwilling, Lloyd had to go back to the barracks with his teammates. There, Lloyd saw his comrades arguing again. One was from South Korea, the other from North Korea, so there was a slight disagreement between them. But this was the period of reunification, and besides, in the camp they called each other comrades. Afterwards, they reconciled as if there had never been a quarrel. Meanwhile, Young-ha brought the intelligence girl's belongings to the military chief. Upon inspection, Young-ha discovered that the phone seemed to have once contained a secret list, but it was no longer there. The military chief wanted Young-ha to investigate where the secret list had gone and why the intelligence girl was in the hospital. He suspected Lloyd was involved. If the intelligence girl recovered, they would know everything, but the military chief didn't want to wait. Young-ha obeyed, promising to complete the task soon. Lloyd couldn't sleep that night, worried about the intelligence girl. He remembered their meeting in the hospital. The girl wanted to find the pink shirt she had exchanged with Lloyd. There seemed to be something important inside, but Lloyd couldn't remember where he'd put the shirt. The girl asked Lloyd to find it for her, then she left. The next day, Lloyd called the manager to ask for the pink shirt and to check on the situation of the informant girl in the hospital. Jason didn't understand what Lloyd wanted, but he agreed. night. Afterwards, Lloyd went to find a teammate named Gay. Lloyd thought Gay was from Unit 112, so he wanted to investigate it. But Gay had only heard that Young Ha was from Unit 112. Just then, another teammate came in. This person happened to know a little about Unit 112. He said they were elite special forces trained extremely rigorously by South Korea. But after the reunification of North and South Korea, Unit 112 disappeared. There were rumors that they had changed into the Violet organization. The terrorist attack at the concert was also orchestrated by Violet. At this point, lawyer Seo approached Secretary Kang. She presented evidence proving that he had abused his power. Lloyd was supposed to be working in the image promotion unit, but instead he was transferred to a combat unit. Lawyer Seo even had a recording of a phone call. She demanded that he transfer Lloyd to another unit. Secretary Kang asked about lawyer Seo's purpose. Simply put, she wanted Lloyd back in his original position. Finally, Secretary Kang had to agree. Only then did lawyer Seo leave. Outside, she informed Lloyd that everything had been handled properly. She invited Lloyd out for a meal. Lloyd went to Young Ha to inform her of this. He discovered she was dressed up beautifully, preparing to go out. He questioned her, asking if she was going to meet her lover. Young Ha angrily kicked him and warned him to be careful with his words. After informing her, Lloyd left with her. Young Ha then encountered the girl from before. The girl called Young Ha sister. It was then that Lloyd realized his misunderstanding, and he felt motivated to pursue the cold female commander. That evening, Lloyd went to his appointment with lawyer Seo. Lawyer Seo had also arranged to meet someone, unexpectedly Jae-hoon. Jae-hoon greeted Lloyd and introduced another friend. Unexpectedly, the person who came out was Young Ha. Young Ha rudely refused to sit with Lloyd. She led Jae-hoon to another table. Seeing Young Ha happily chatting with Jae-hoon, Lloyd felt a pang of jealousy. Lloyd deliberately spoke loudly to attract attention, but Young Ha ignored him. Lloyd then turned to mocking Jae-hoon. Jae-hoon, annoyed, told Lloyd to talk less and focus on eating. Young Ha had to intervene again to stop the two from arguing. Lloyd asked lawyer Seo if she knew anything about the Violet organization. Young Ha and Jae-hoon were stunned by the question. Lawyer Seo's answer was off topic. Suddenly, several guests entered, discussing the young spy. Some even said she deliberately fell in front of Lloyd to attract his attention. Lloyd was furious. He told them not to talk nonsense if they didn't know anything. Everyone recognized Lloyd, causing a commotion. Lloyd even threatened to attack the person spreading rumors. Jae-hoon and Young Ha quickly pulled Lloyd outside. Young Ha said goodbye to Jae-hoon and helped Lloyd put on his mask. Lloyd, however, was still under the illusion that Young Ha cared about him. Back home, Young Ha accidentally dropped the teddy bear Lloyd had given her. She tried to sleep hugging it as he had instructed, but she couldn't sleep because Lloyd's image had appeared in her mind. She went to the gym and worked out until she was exhausted to erase Lloyd's image from her head. But Lloyd appeared before her and brought her water. Young Ha asked why he was there. Lloyd actually wanted to ask her to check on the situation of the young spy in the hospital. She was under strict surveillance, so he couldn't get any information. He only left when Young Ha nodded in agreement. Young Ha watched him go, knowing he would be transferred to another location today. Everyone in the team came to see Lloyd off, but Young Ha's absence left Lloyd feeling somewhat disappointed. He said goodbye to everyone and got into the car. In the car, Jason noticed Lloyd looked a little down, so he asked how he was, but Lloyd pretended to be fine. Jason gave Lloyd a gift. Lloyd feigned happiness, accepting it before tossing it aside. Suddenly, Lloyd remembered something important. He immediately asked Jason to turn the car around and go to the hospital. Lloyd wanted to visit the young spy. Jason said it would be difficult, but Lloyd feared he wouldn't have another chance. Hearing this, Jason had no choice but to turn the car around. At this moment, Young Ha was in the hospital room. Suddenly someone approached, and Young Ha quickly hid. It turned out to be Lloyd, but Lloyd could only stand outside and comfort her. He promised to make those who harmed her pay the price. Young Ha was deeply moved by his words. After Lloyd left, another person arrived. It was the terrorist captain disguised as a doctor. Young Ha immediately chased after him. She accidentally brushed past Lloyd's car. The terrorist captain lured her to a secluded place. There, a group of people appeared and surrounded her. They attacked Young Ha. She was too weak to fight them all off at once. The terrorist captain grabbed Young Ha, but before he could do anything to her, something was pressed against his head. Lloyd, enraged, believed the terrorist captain was the one who had harmed the young intelligence agent. Lloyd threatened that if the captain dared to move, he would shoot immediately. The terrorist captain scoffed, saying that Lloyd's hands could only hold a microphone, not a gun. He snatched Lloyd's gun and tried to teach him how to shoot, but there were no bullets in it. In any case, Lloyd and Young Ha couldn't escape today. Suddenly, the sound of police cars rang out. It turned out Lloyd had been prepared. The terrorist leader angrily kicked Lloyd and then ran away. Young Ha helped Lloyd up. It turned out the sound of police cars was just a prop from Jason. Lloyd then questioned Young Ha about what had happened. He believed the terrorists were at the hospital to eliminate the young spy. Young Ha didn't want Lloyd to know because he was no longer a member of the unit, but he said the girl in the hospital was his fan. Soldiers protect their country, and he wanted to protect his fan. But Young Ha was afraid he was in danger, so she stubbornly refused to reveal the secret. The next day, Young Ha tried to unlock the young spy's phone. Unexpectedly, Lloyd appeared. He said his phone's wallpaper was of him, so the password must be his birthday. The phone was easily unlocked. Young Ha wondered why Lloyd was there. He informed Young Ha of some news. He had applied to return to the unit. Then, Lloyd returned to his room. His comrades were extremely surprised. Because Lloyd came and went so freely, they punished him by making him sort trash. He thought this return gift wasn't bad. Meanwhile, Young Ha reported to the military commander that Lloyd could easily unlock the intelligence girl's phone. The military commander immediately suspected there was some secret between Lloyd and the intelligence girl, but Young Ha argued that it was just an idle fan relationship. Even so, the military military commander wanted her to investigate further. Then Young Ha recounted how she had been attacked by the Violet organization the previous night. They targeted the intelligence girl. They definitely wanted something. The military commander suggested using Lloyd as bait. He and the young intelligence agent were definitely targets of Violet. They clearly didn't just want to harm a girl who was incapable of regaining consciousness. Young Ha felt uneasy because Lloyd hadn't received combat training. The military chief was furious, but Young Ha said she couldn't trade one person's life for the future of a nation. They didn't even know how dangerous the terrorists' plan was. At this moment, Lawyer Seo came to see Lloyd to ask why he wanted to return to the unit. Lloyd couldn't reveal the reason yet. He only wanted Lawyer Seo's help with something first. Lawyer Seo immediately agreed, but she had a condition. If she needed help later, he couldn't refuse. The two shook hands, reaching an agreement. Unintentionally, Young Ha witnessed this scene. She now had another target to monitor. Now, anyone approaching Lloyd could be a member of the Violet organization. Meanwhile, the Violet organization began to act. Jae-hoon disguised himself as a delivery man and went to the military mess hall. There, he obtained the barracks key from the cook. Then, disguised as a soldier, he broke into Lloyd's quarters. Jae-hoon opened Lloyd's locker, searching for something. Suddenly, a soldier entered. Jae-hoon immediately climbed out the window to the floor below, then hid in the restroom to change clothes. When he came out, Jae-hoon was caught by a soldier who stopped him, saying that strangers weren't allowed there. Young Ha arrived just in time to save the day. Jae-hoon lied, saying he had come to visit her. Then the two went to the mess hall to talk. Lloyd followed them, seeing them talking happily. When Lloyd tried to rush out to interrupt, his comrades pulled him away. He loudly said he had something important to say to the commander. His comrades helped Lloyd call Young Ha up to his office. Jae-hoon, hearing this, excused himself and left. He accidentally dropped his Violet organization card, but Young Ha didn't suspect anything. Meanwhile, to execute the plan using Lloyd as bait, the military chief tried to persuade Secretary Kang to create a promotional campaign. The goal was to use the image of the unified unit as its representative. Secretary Kang, without any suspicion, immediately agreed with the military chief. He organized a meeting with the soldiers of the unified unit. He announced that he would use their photos to promote the plan to build up the army in the city. Gay immediately protested, arguing that they were a secret unit and couldn't reveal their faces. The military chief angrily stated that the soldiers' duty was to carry out their mission, not to work like a clandestine organization. After everyone agreed, Secretary Khan dismissed them. Young Ha chased after the military chief outside. She asked him if this action was really okay. He advised her not to worry unnecessarily. Meanwhile, after leaving the camp, Jae-hoon returned and reprimanded the terrorist captain for revealing their whereabouts in the hospital. The terrorist captain knew that Jae-hoon wasn't just scolding them for that reason, but also because they had hurt Young Ha. The terrorist captain believed that Jae-hoon valued Young Ha more than the organization's actions. Jae-hoon immediately warned the terrorist captain. Afterwards, Jae-hoon went out to drink. He remembered the purpose of building the Violet organization. At that time, he believed that North and South Korea could not be unified because the two sides had been divided for 70 years. Regional differences and different lifestyles made it impossible for the two sides to reconcile. Jae-hoon was even chased and beaten by South Koreans simply because he was North Korean. The scars Jae-hoon had shown Young Ha were all inflicted by South Koreans. That morning, the unification unit began taking promotional photos. Young Ha didn't participate but stood aside, observing the situation. She accidentally spotted a suspicious intruder on the set and immediately chased after him. Lloyd realized Young Ha had disappeared and tried to find her, but was held back by the photographer. He had to continue taking pictures. Lloyd was unknowingly targeted by the terrorist captain. Suddenly, the captain received a phone call. Jae-hoon told the terrorist captain not to act rashly, but he refused to obey. Young Ha discovered the terrorist captain on the rooftop, aiming at Lloyd. She immediately shone a light, causing the captain to miss. Having his location discovered, he fled. His teammates rushed to protect Lloyd, while another team was sent to pursue the assassin. Suddenly, a car sped up and blocked their path, and the soldiers immediately opened fire. The subordinate who tried to rescue the terrorist captain became his scapegoat. The soldiers captured the subordinate, while Young Ha pursued the terrorist leader alone. He escaped into the forest by rappelling down a rope. Young Ha tried to follow him, but the rope was cut. The subordinate was brought back to base. He confessed that the intelligence girl's possession was a list of Violet organization members. The military chief immediately sent Young Ha to find the list, insisting she bring it back. Young Ha obeyed. Meanwhile, Lloyd visited the intelligence girl at the hospital. He was surprised to find her heart had stopped beating. He immediately called the doctor, who performed CPR to try and save her. Fortunately, she was out of danger. Lloyd felt relieved and returned to the barracks to rest. There, he found Young Ha rummaging through his locker and taking out the intelligence girl's pink shirt. He asked her what she was looking for. She said it was something that could put him in danger. He asked if she had found it. She confirmed it wasn't there. He wanted to know exactly what it was, but she absolutely refused to say. They started arguing. She only wanted to protect him, but he insisted he could protect himself. She immediately tackled him and asked if that was what you call protecting yourself. Lloyd angrily retorted that even if he couldn't protect himself, he didn't need her protection. He added that she appeared strong on the outside, but was actually weak on the inside. She snapped at him to shut up because he knew nothing about her. He said he truly didn't know and didn't want to know now. He only wanted to find out why his fan was in the hospital. Just as the two sides were about to fight, their comrades suddenly intervened. They blamed Lloyd for everything and demanded he apologize to the commander. Lloyd said nothing, only throwing Young Ha a pink shirt. Young Ha took it and left the room. Later, she took it to the military officer, saying she hadn't found anything inside. The military officer was disappointed, but still considered Young Ha to have completed her her mission. He suggested she rest for a few days, but Young-ha refused because Violet was still targeting Lloyd. However, the military officer insisted she obey his orders. The next day, Young-ha returned to the barracks. Lloyd was waiting to apologize, but he pretended to be on the phone, ignoring her. Only after Young-ha had left did he chase after her. It turned out Young-ha had gone to see a fellow soldier to inquire about Unit 112. After the reunification of North and South Vietnam, the unit had been disbanded. Those who had contributed were rewarded, but they had to live a life no different from the dead. Young-ha thanked the soldier and let him go. She recalled Jae-hoon's identification card. She wondered why Jae-hoon still had the card issued by the unit if Unit 112 had been disbanded. Later, Young-ha went outside. Lloyd ran over to talk to her. He said he had thought it over carefully and wanted to cooperate with Young-ha to find those who had harmed the young intelligence agent. Young-ha still refused. She asked Lloyd to do his job well at the unit and not worry about things that didn't concern him anymore, fearing that he couldn't even protect himself. Lloyd then said he would act on his own. Young-ha threatened to impose a house arrest order. Lloyd didn't dare to speak up anymore. Later, Lloyd received a call from lawyer Seo. The investigation he had asked about the young intelligence agent had yielded results. It turned out she was a hacker. Lloyd was extremely surprised, but there was still other, more important news. Lawyer Seo wanted Lloyd to attend a party. If Lloyd came, she would tell him everything. The next day, Lloyd dressed smartly and prepared for the party. While outside, Lloyd accidentally bumped into Young-ha. Young-ha asked Lloyd where he was going. Lloyd frankly said he was going to the party. Young-ha wanted to stop him, but Lloyd had a leave permit from the barracks. Moreover, his superiors had sent his teammates to accompany him, so if Young-ha wanted to go, no one could stop her. Hearing this, she refused. Lloyd snatched back his permit and left. Young-ha returned to her room and found documents on her desk. She opened them and found an investigation report on the phone. When the young intelligence agent arrived in Pyeongchang, she had a specific travel schedule, which included attending today's party. Young-ha realized something was amiss. She hurried to the party. Meanwhile, Lloyd had already arrived at the party with lawyer Seo. Lloyd's teammates were also lying in wait there, both to protect Lloyd and to protect the party guests. Lawyer Seo wanted Lloyd to introduce himself to some officials. Many people at the party were dressed in purple, including Mayor Lee. Lawyer Seo introduced Lloyd to the mayor. Unexpectedly, Lawyer Seo turned out to be the mayor's daughter. Mayor Lee wanted Lloyd to prepare a speech. Lloyd was bewildered, as no one had mentioned the speech beforehand. Outside, Young-ha had arrived at the party, but couldn't enter in her military uniform. Luckily, Jason recognized Young-ha and immediately called her into the dressing room. When she put on her evening gown, she instantly became the most beautiful girl. Jason led Young-ha to the party. As soon as Young-ha appeared, many men stared at her without blinking. Lloyd approached her and invited her to come with him, but Lawyer Seo pulled Lloyd away. She said Mayor Lee wanted to see him. In reality, the mayor was still giving a speech. This was a party for families separated by the war. Taking advantage of the situation, Jae-hoon approached Young-ha, wanting to offer her a drink. Lloyd immediately turned and pulled Young-ha away, leaving Jae-hoon feeling a little disappointed. Lloyd wanted to play a game with Young-ha. If they won, 100 million won would be donated to a children's cardiology fund. Coincidentally, Young-ha was also planning to get her sister heart surgery, so she readily agreed to participate. Suddenly, he lifted her up, and she instinctively clung tightly to his neck. Together, they overcame an obstacle course and successfully raised 100 million won. Everyone applauded. Lloyd and Young-ha held hands and thanked everyone. Jae-hoon went to the restroom to retrieve the money he had prepared. He had received orders from a mysterious person who wanted to prevent the reunification of North and South Korea. If the operation fails, he will eliminate Jae-hoon. Only 2 weeks remain. Meanwhile, Lloyd takes Young-ha for a walk at the party. He compliments her on her beauty, but she doesn't trust the glib tongues of South Korean men. Lloyd wants to prove his feelings to Young-ha. Suddenly, Jae-hoon appears and stops Lloyd's kiss. Then Jae-hoon leads Young-ha elsewhere. At this moment, a riot breaks out at the party. Terrorists open fire on the guests. The combat unit immediately takes action. Lloyd searches for Young-ha in the crowd. The two run towards each other amidst the gunfire. They both take cover under a table. Young-ha discovers Lloyd is injured and immediately tears her dress to bandage him. After that, she pulls out her gun and rushes into battle. The terrorist captain fires all his bullets. He realizes there are special forces soldiers here and immediately turns to flee. The terrorist captain hides in the basement and is surrounded by the combined unit. A tense gunfight ensues. Knowing he was at a disadvantage, the terrorist leader attempted to flee. At that moment, he was shot in the shoulder. He rushed to the mechanics room, but the special forces refused to let him go. An accomplice cleared a path for the terrorist leader to escape through the back door. Jae-hoon picked up the terrorist leader, leaving his accomplice behind. He was shot by Young-ha and fell to the ground. Young-ha borrowed a motorcycle from a girl to chase after the terrorist leader. Lloyd also borrowed lawyer Seo's car to follow. Jae-hoon took the terrorist leader back to base and tried to bandage his wound. Suddenly, Young-ha appeared from behind. She pointed her gun at them, ordering them to surrender. Jae-hoon complied, and at the same time, he ordered the terrorist leader to run ahead. Young-ha wanted to chase after them, but Jae-hoon held her back. Finally, she sadly went outside, unable to bring herself to harm Jae-hoon. Lloyd saw this, but didn't dare to comfort Young-ha. Meanwhile, Mayor Lee was furious that the terrorists dared to act so brazenly on Pyeongchang soil. Now they knew who the mastermind was, and his goal was to prevent the reunification of North and South Korea. Mayor Lee ordered his subordinates to quickly resolve the matter before the signing of the North-South Free Travel Agreement. The head of the military department immediately received the order. In the interrogation room, the terrorist was subjected to various forms of torture. Young-ha intervened to stop her teammate. She said that this was a time of peace, and they shouldn't treat people arbitrarily. Her teammate said said that the terrorists weren't human, and the head of the military department wouldn't allow him to die. After saying this, her teammate angrily left. Young-ha inquired about the terrorist, but he showed contempt for her. Lawyer Seo visited Lloyd at the camp and confirmed that his life was not in danger. Lawyer Seo kept her promise. She gave him more information about the young intelligence agent. The girl is not only a hacker, but also a key member of the North Korean military's hacking unit. She was sent to study in Russia, but to survive, she joined the Violet organization. It seems she stole something important, which is why the organization is hunting her down. Lawyer Seo also said that Lloyd must be very important to her for her to go to such lengths to protect him. Lloyd is deeply distressed. Meanwhile, Young-ha recalls Jae-hoon's story. He founded the Violet organization to avenge his fallen comrade in Unit 112 after news of North and South Korean reunification. The superiors promised the soldiers in Unit 112 a new life, but in reality, they were trying to purge them all. Young-ha left the unit early and was unaware of this. She feels extremely conflicted. Suddenly, the military commander arrives. It turns out he was the one who brought Young-ha here, so she could take care of her younger sister. The military commander has high expectations of Young-ha. He assigned her an important task. Young-ha promised not to disappoint him. After the military commander left, Young-ha also prepared to leave. She accidentally ran into Lloyd. He wanted to know where she was going. He was worried when he saw that she looked tired, but Young-ha said she didn't need his concern. He stood there stunned, watching her leave. That evening, Young-ha returned home. She wanted to spend the night with her younger sister. At that moment, Lloyd broke into the basement of the bar where Young-ha had chased Jae-hoon earlier. Lloyd discovered a photo of the young spy. He then realized it was a terrorist base. Suddenly, someone approached, and Lloyd quickly hid. Unexpectedly, it was Young-ha and Jae-hoon. Young-ha tried to persuade Jae-hoon to stop, but he stubbornly maintained his stance. He argued that North and South Korea could not be unified because the people of the two sides were too deeply ingrained with prejudice. Furthermore, the reason soldiers like them existed was to serve in war. Jae-hoon didn't want the disappearance of Unit 112 to be in vain. Jae-hoon promised that if Young-ha helped him, he would use his money and power to get her sister's surgery abroad. But Young-ha would never compromise for that reason. She was still alive to prove that her family wasn't counter-revolutionary. With no common ground between them, Young-ha returned to her room, heartbroken. Lloyd overheard Young-ha and Jae-hoon's conversation. He also went to his room, lost in thought, and only managed to doze off for a short while. In his dream, Lloyd saw himself kissing Young-ha. He woke up with a start. Unexpectedly, Young-ha had a similar dream. She quickly washed her face and confirmed that it wasn't real. After breakfast, Lloyd went to see Secretary Kang. Secretary Kang provided him with permission to leave the barracks to meet his parents at a hotel. They had made an appointment, but Lloyd didn't want to go because he had a conflict with his family. His parents only saw him as a tool for making money. Instead, Lloyd wanted to see the young spy. Secretary Kang asked for the reason. Lloyd said the girl was hospitalized because she protected him. After hearing this, Secretary Kang reluctantly agreed. Meanwhile, Young-ha secretly went to the interrogation room to eavesdrop on the conversation between the military commander and the terrorist. The commander wanted to know who was behind it, but the terrorist refused to confess. A subordinate wanted to help the commander interrogate him. He started beating the terrorist to force him to confess. The commander told his subordinate to turn off the camera. Young-ha couldn't see anything anymore, but she heard strange noises. She knew something unusual was happening. Unexpectedly, the terrorist was rescued by a female informant. She intended to take him to Jae-hoon. On the way, Jae-hoon called the female informant. He asked where they were. The female informant said they were almost back at the base, but Jae-hoon wanted them to go to the park because the base might have been compromised. After hanging up, Jae-hoon prepared cash and passports. He planned to arrange for his teammate to escape abroad. On the other side, Lloyd visited the young intelligence agent at the hospital. After comforting the little girl and helping her regain her composure, he pasted a picture on the window to motivate her. He returned to base and found Young-ha preparing to go out. She was carrying a large box. He wondered what was inside, but she told him not to worry. He knew she was about to do something dangerous, so he wanted to stop her, but she ignored him and drove away. Lloyd returned to his room dejectedly and saw his teammates preparing for action. Lloyd was about to follow them when a teammate reminded him to go to the operations command room. Lloyd reluctantly obeyed the order. In the operations command room, Secretary Kang told Lloyd to observe the combat deployment. After the soldiers arrived at the designated location, they immediately split up to act. The operations command room would monitor the scene via drone and from there distribute forces to sensitive areas. Lloyd couldn't concentrate. He made an excuse about having an appointment with his parents to leave early. Secretary Kang remembered and agreed. At this time, the female informant and the terrorist were in the park. Suddenly, the terrorist needed to use the restroom, and the female informant waited. Unexpectedly, she betrayed the Violet organization. She secretly sent images to the operations command center via a camera attached to her neck. The terrorist went into the restroom. Suddenly, Jae-hoon appeared and embraced him. Jae-hoon knew the female informant had betrayed him. After arranging for the terrorist's escape, Jae-hoon went to eliminate the female informant. Everyone was in a panic. Secretary Kang recognized Jae-hoon and immediately ordered the soldiers to act. One group chased after Jae-hoon, while another pursued the terrorist. Unexpectedly, the special forces were shot down one by one. The sniper on the rooftop turned out to be Young-ha. She aimed at the body armor to protect her teammates. She aimed at Jae-hoon but couldn't bring herself to pull the trigger. In the end, she let him escape. Behind her, Young-ha's voice rang out, asking why she did that. Young-ha turned around and saw Lloyd pointing a gun at her, but she knew Lloyd wouldn't shoot, so she left. Lloyd was furious at his inability to do anything. Meanwhile, the military chief realized the sniper had deliberately shot at the soldier's armor. He suspected there was some reason he absolutely had to investigate. He then searched Young-ha's room. Just then, she and Lloyd returned. The military chief asked Young-ha where she had been. Lloyd stepped forward and said she had gone with him. The military chief didn't believe him and ordered Young-ha's arrest, but Lloyd pulled her away. The military chief angrily demanded to know what he was doing. Lloyd declared he was protecting the woman he loved. Young-ha was extremely surprised to hear this. The two were then taken away by the military chief for questioning. Secretary Kang was stunned to know of their relationship. The military chief questioned Young-ha about where she had been and what she had been doing all day. Lloyd quickly replied that she had been with him. He was her alibi. He also confirmed they were dating. Everyone was astonished. The military chief didn't believe Lloyd. He wanted to hear Young-ha's confirmation. Lloyd thought the military chief was being rude by questioning a woman about her personal relationship. Lloyd glanced at Secretary Kang. He immediately remembered Lloyd had a date with his parents at the hotel. If Young-ha was with Lloyd, they could verify it by checking the security cameras. Lloyd immediately said that a celebrity like him couldn't leave any evidence when taking his girlfriend to meet his parents. He had already had the recording deleted. If the military chief insisted on not believing him, he would have to publicly announce their relationship. From now on, everyone would know that Young-ha was the girlfriend of a famous singer. Since Lloyd had gone to such lengths, the military chief temporarily let it go. Everyone applauded to congratulate the new couple. Outside, Young-ha angrily scolded Lloyd for doing what she had done without her permission, but Lloyd explained that he had no other choice but to protect her. Young-ha was only worried that this would cause trouble for Lloyd if it were exposed. Lloyd asked her to cooperate well so that no one would find out. Young-ha didn't understand why Lloyd went to such lengths. Lloyd couldn't directly admit to her that he liked her, so he turned and left. Meanwhile, after Secretary Kang left the office, a female reporter unexpectedly approached him. After some persuasion, Secretary Kang recounted everything that had just happened. Rumors of the famous singer having a girlfriend while in the military quickly spread online. The director angrily called Lloyd's manager to reprimand him. After the call ended, Jason immediately rushed to Lloyd's side. Together, they figured out how to explain things to the fans. Lloyd said he didn't regret what he had done. He only wanted to apologize to the fans and the members of the company. Jason still felt uneasy. He insisted that Lloyd confirm that it was all a misunderstanding, but Lloyd didn't want to retract what he had said, and on the other hand, he was afraid Young-ha would be hurt. At that moment, Jason received a call from the manager. He told them to check the latest news. Unexpectedly, Young-ha had come to Lloyd's rescue by posting a video on social media. In the video, she confirmed that their relationship was very good. Lloyd happily went to find Young-ha. Although he knew she only wanted to help him, Lloyd still hoped she had feelings for him. Young-ha was furious. She demanded that he publicly end their relationship immediately, but he, of course, refused. Suddenly, Gaye appeared and pulled Lloyd and Young-ha aside to talk. The military commander ordered Gaye to monitor the two to see if they were really dating, but Gaye didn't want to betray his comrades, so he warned them beforehand to ensure they coordinated well. Not only Gaye, but other comrades also wanted to witness the love between the North and South. Later, Young-ha went to the mess hall. Her comrades were still watching her. Lloyd brought his meal and sat with Young-ha, pretending they were really dating. Young-ha wanted to get up and leave, but Lloyd reminded her that someone was watching them. She had no choice but to remain seated. After the meal, they went for a walk. Lloyd noticed his comrades were still following them, so he told Young-ha to act a little with him. Not only were the soldiers monitoring the couple, but also the paparazzi were there. Lloyd proactively held Young-ha's hand so the reporters could get some romantic photos. But military dates are also a national secret, so all the photos taken by journalists were forcibly destroyed. Afterward, Lloyd and Young-ha went to the grocery store to buy fruit. The store owner and his wife were also a couple from North and South Korea. The wife wanted Lloyd's autograph as a souvenir. Young-ha shyly left, but Lloyd immediately followed her. Then, the two went to Young-ha's house for a meal. Lloyd was too embarrassed to say anything. He could barely hold his glass of water. Luckily, his comrades came to his rescue. Seeing everyone present, Young-ha's aunt wanted to throw a party, so Young-ha and her aunt went into the kitchen to prepare food. The aunt asked Young-ha to go to the room to get sesame oil. Unexpectedly, Jae-hoon was hiding there. He gave Young-ha his passport so she could take her sister abroad for medical treatment. This was his way of repaying her for saving him the last time. But Young-ha didn't need it. She said that time was to repay Jae-hoon for saving her life 10 years ago. If it weren't for him, she would have died at Unit 112. Jae-hoon knew he couldn't dissuade her. He hugged her goodbye and prepared to leave. Young-ha hoped they would never meet again, but Jae-hoon knew for sure they would meet again. This was destiny, already predetermined. Outside, the comrades were giving Lloyd advice on how to woo girls. Disagreements arose between the North and South sides. The North Korean comrade followed democratic ideals. He believed that a strong woman like Young-ha would like strong men. He thought that if Lloyd just smashed bricks with his head, she would surely be moved. The South Korean comrade followed capitalist ideals. He thought that if Lloyd gave expensive gifts, he would win Young-ha's heart. Lloyd found this method easier, so he decided to try it first. After all, he had plenty of money. That evening, everyone went up to the rooftop for a party. The special agents had turned the place into an entertainment area. Lloyd and Young-ha were dating, but their teammates were even more excited than they were. Afterwards, everyone gathered on the rooftop to give the new couple a gift, matching shirts with red hearts printed on them. Lloyd asked who had come up with this idea. It turned out to be the owners of the grocery store. Lloyd and Young-ha temporarily accepted the gift. Their teammates gave them some privacy. Lloyd took the opportunity to confess his feelings to Young-ha, but she didn't accept. She told him not to like her because her past was terrible and that they shouldn't see each other again. Lloyd couldn't understand. Young-ha explained that the the distance between North and South would prevent them from ever being together. But Lloyd wanted to represent the unification of the two regions with Young-ha. He took the initiative to kiss her. She couldn't remain cold anymore and embraced him. At midnight, everyone had to return to the barracks, otherwise they would be considered deserters. Lloyd led Young-ha back to her room. He wanted to wait for her to go in before he returned. Unexpectedly, Young-ha discovered the note she had placed on the door that morning was now on the floor. Someone had definitely broken into her bedroom. Young-ha found a listening device in the room. She signaled Lloyd to keep quiet. The two then planned to stage a scene. Lloyd kept breathing heavily, making the military officer hesitant to listen further. Young-ha found Lloyd's acting too exaggerated, so she quickly destroyed the listening device and chased him out of the room. Lloyd wanted to perform some formalities before leaving. He pushed Young-ha against the wall. She closed her eyes, expecting a sweet kiss. Unexpectedly, Lloyd was only teasing her. Seeing her angry, he quickly ran away. The next day, while Young-ha was at the gym, Lloyd came to discuss their date plans, but the female commander only replied, "Whatever," which greatly annoyed Lloyd. He insisted she learn how to love quickly, saying that their relationship would soon become boring. Young-ha resentfully said she understood. After saying that, she immediately went back to her room and researched how to love online. She had to show herself to be seductive and invite the other person to eat noodles. It turned out that for South Koreans, eating noodles meant doing adult things. Young-ha didn't understand this hidden meaning, so she practiced saying it until she was fluent before going to meet Lloyd. The two were still being followed by their teammates. Lloyd led Young-ha into a car and escaped through the back door. They quickly got into another car and watched their teammates follow Jason's car. Only then did Lloyd start driving. By the time his teammates realized what was happening, it was too late. The four of them, disappointed, went to a pub and badmouthed Lloyd, accusing him of being a traitor. Meanwhile, Lloyd took Young-ha home. Their date had left Lloyd feeling a little bored. Young-ha, applying what she'd known, asked if he wanted to eat noodles with her. Lloyd was secretly delighted. Meanwhile, the terrorist captain was hastily eating a pastry at the grocery store when he accidentally bumped into Young-ha's aunt. Seeing how pitiful he looked, she invited him home for dinner and asked him to carry some bags. While waiting for her to cook, the terrorist captain sat folding paper boats. Suddenly, he received a phone call. Young-ha's aunt noticed a scar on his arm and immediately suspected he was her long-lost son. But before she could ask, the terrorist captain had already left. That afternoon, Lloyd and Young-ha watched the sunset together. Her younger sister was playing with soap bubbles. Young-ha took Lloyd's hand. She said she was afraid that happy moments would vanish as quickly as soap bubbles. Lloyd said that if that were the case, he would continue blowing so that the beautiful scene would never disappear, and all she needed was to be by his side. Meanwhile, the military chief saw the video of Young-ha and Jae-hoon meeting. Lawyer Seo wanted to sabotage Lloyd and Young-ha's relationship because she had feelings for Lloyd. Lawyer Seo also wanted the military chief to bring Young-ha back to North Korea. He immediately agreed. That evening, Lloyd and Young-ha returned. Since they had confirmed their relationship, Lloyd didn't want to hide anything from Young-ha. He confessed that he had found what the young spy had been hiding, the list of members of the Violet organization. Young-ha had always been worried that Lloyd would be attacked by Violet's people, which is why she hadn't told him the truth from the beginning. Suddenly, her younger sister ran up and dragged them away to take pictures. She even intentionally let them take pictures separately while she waited outside. However, after Lloyd and Young-ha finished taking pictures, Young-ha's younger sister was nowhere to be seen. Only her teddy bear remained. Worried, they split up to search, but still found no clues. At this moment, Lloyd received a message. It turned out Jae-hoon was holding the girl captive. Lloyd knew Jae-hoon wanted him to provide the Violet team's list, but Young-ha wanted to handle the matter herself. Lloyd promised to help Young-ha. Then Lloyd went to Jae-hoon and angrily grabbed his shirt. Lloyd questioned him about why he would use a young girl's life as a bargaining chip. Jae-hoon said he had no other choice and that he wouldn't harm Young-ha's sister. Lloyd took out the necklace and gave it to Jae-hoon. Jae-hoon then handed over Young-ha's sister. Suddenly, the terrorist captain appeared, having received orders from the leader to retrieve the list. The terrorist leader fled, and Jae-hoon immediately chased after him. Lloyd also took his younger sister, Young-ha, home. Young-ha was angry with Lloyd for losing the Violet member list. Lloyd then revealed the truth to Young-ha. The list had always been with her. What the terrorist leader had taken was only Lloyd's music album. The terrorist leader was furious after seeing it. The real list was inside the teddy bear Lloyd had given Young-ha. He then gave her the memory card. Suddenly, the military commander and his men stormed in. He wanted to arrest Young-ha, believing she was collaborating with the traitor Jae-hoon. Lloyd wanted to protect Young-ha, but the military commander had evidence. Young-ha stopped Lloyd, secretly handing the list to him before leaving with the military commander. The next day, Young-ha was preparing to return to North Korea to be executed for counter-revolutionary activities. She wanted to see her younger sister one last time, but her comrades refused. Lloyd chased after her, wanting to say a few words, but he was stopped by the guards. Fortunately, Lloyd was allowed through by his comrades. Lloyd told Young-ha that her sister was doing well. He also arranged for a doctor from Seoul to perform surgery on her. Young-ha entrusted her sister to Lloyd's care. Lloyd promised to bring Young-ha back to Pyeongchang. Just as he finished speaking, Lloyd was dragged out by the soldiers. The car carrying Young-ha drove away. She sat in the car, looking back at the happy photo of the three of them. She was certain she would return. Meanwhile, Mayor Lee was shocked to hear that Young-ha was a counter-revolutionary. Secretary Kang wondered why they didn't handle Young-ha in Pyeongchang instead of sending her to North Korea. The military chief tried to come up with a plausible explanation, but Secretary Kang still wanted to ask more questions. Mayor Lee interrupted. Their task now was to purge the Violet organization, not to argue over a captured traitor. Suddenly, Lloyd burst burst into the conference room. Lloyd wanted to clear Young-ha's name. Lloyd said he would hand over the violet list. If Young-ha's name wasn't on it, then she was completely innocent. If they didn't agree, Lloyd would leave. Mayor Lee immediately compromised. Lloyd began to access the violet list. However, the list was password protected. Lloyd had 3 minutes to unlock it, otherwise the data would be automatically deleted. Lloyd thought it was still his birth date, like before, but it was wrong. Now Lloyd only had 2 attempts left. Lloyd tried entering the song title, but that was also incorrect. Lloyd remembered the photo of the young intelligence agent with him. He nervously tried entering that day, and finally, the lock was opened. The violet list was revealed. Mayor Lee immediately sent people to arrest everyone whose name was on the list. Some were doctors at the hospital, others were cooks at the barracks. Later, Lloyd went to see Mayor Lee and reminded him of their agreement. The mayor agreed to reinstate Young-ha. She also warned him to be careful of the Violet organization, as they might seek revenge. Lloyd thanked the mayor, who then left. Lawyer Seo angrily told Lloyd that he and Young-ha would have no future together. She even admitted her feelings for him, but Lloyd quickly realized she was the one who had reported Young-ha. He declared he was cutting off all contact with her and left. The next day, the military chief informed Mayor Lee that the plan to eliminate Violet was almost complete, with only the leader yet to be captured. However, Secretary Kang had found a way for him to communicate with the terrorist captain. They would soon apprehend him. Mayor Lee was slightly surprised by the recklessness, but Lloyd wanted her to trust him. Time was running out, so she decided to get into the car with him. The convoy sped down the road, the tracking signal flashing on the command screen. At a crossroads, 3 cars suddenly turned. Mayor Lee was still worried about whether the leader would actually appear, but Lloyd insisted he would fall into one of 2 categories. Either he had planted the tracking device to guide the assassin, or he was silently following Lloyd and the mayor's car. So Lloyd could be confident that the opponent would reveal himself. In the command room, the 2 cars were back in position. The military chief's analysis matched Lloyd's suspicions. That statement stunned Secretary Kang, because he was the one who had planted the tracking device. Realizing he had been tricked, he angrily pointed and blamed the other party. But the military chief only reminded Secretary Kang to find a way to save himself. In desperation, Secretary Kang tremblingly called the counterterrorism team. Secretary Kang ordered them to rush to Lloyd's location, but at that moment, the GPS signal suddenly cut off. Lloyd's car disappeared from the map, so Secretary Kang rushed to Young-ha's side. Hearing Lloyd's name, Young-ha had a bad feeling. Then, the roar of motorcycle engines echoed through the streets. Young-ha sped off in her car, searching for her loved one. Lloyd and Mayor Lee had already entered the square, but this location was completely outside of her plan. As soon as they got out of the car, Lloyd and Mayor Lee immediately came into the sights of the counterterrorism captain. He put his finger on the trigger, but the mayor stood in front of Lloyd, making him hesitate. Suddenly, Jae-hoon appeared on the rooftop. He pointed his gun at the counterterrorism captain. He said that they were just tools of the leader and no longer soldiers. Those words enraged the counterterrorism captain. He gritted his teeth and pointed his gun at Jae-hoon's head. He yelled that Jae-hoon had forgotten his ideals and the revenge of Unit 112. To him, Jae-hoon was just a man weakened by love. Immediately afterward, he threw a grappling hook down into the square, heading straight for Lloyd. Jae-hoon's gun fired a warning shot, but Lloyd didn't have time to react. In that critical moment, Young-ha rushed forward and pulled Lloyd out of the gun's line of fire. The square began to turn into a chaotic battlefield. Mayor Lee sped away alone. Gunshots rang out. The terrorist leader was hit and fell to the ground unconscious. Lloyd had pulled the trigger. Lloyd's hand trembled, but his eyes blazed with anger. Jae-hoon approached, nodded to Young-ha, and offered to take the terrorist leader away himself. But the tragedy didn't end there. The leader suddenly opened his eyes and sprang to his feet. He fired a barrage of bullets at Lloyd. In that instant, Jae-hoon lunged forward, shielding Lloyd with his own body. Jae-hoon fell to the ground, his vision blurring. He softly whispered Young-ha's name. Witnessing this, Young-ha screamed and rushed to embrace her former comrade. She begged him to open his eyes and not abandon her. Jae-hoon passed away in Young-ha's arms. Right next to them, the terrorist leader took another volley of bullets. His angry eyes closed. Lloyd, having narrowly escaped, sat stunned. He couldn't understand why the leader hadn't appeared yet. When the special forces found the terrorist's phone, Lloyd finally realized his mistake. It turned out that the man had always been right before his eyes. Without thinking, he immediately called Mayor Lee. The moment she answered, her face turned pale. Fearing her secret would be revealed, she hastily dismissed all her staff. In this emergency, she only thought about finding a scapegoat. Then she blamed everything on the head of the military department. The unexpected accusation enraged the head of the military department. He drew his gun, but Secretary Kang immediately drew hers and pointed it at him. The door was locked. Lloyd and Young-ha tried to break it down but failed. Mayor Lee continued to accuse Young-ha of being a spy. As expected, no one in the office opened the door for Young-ha and Lloyd. Unable to let his teammate be falsely accused, Lloyd tried to contact someone inside. He didn't expect Mayor Lee to be behind all the crimes, but luckily, he managed to gather crucial evidence before she ordered it destroyed. Thanks to that, he could accuse her on the spot. Inside, Secretary Kang and the head of the military department were still confronting each other. Finally, everyone agreed to let Lloyd in. All eyes immediately turned to the female mayor. At first, she still tried to feign innocence, but when Lloyd approached and tried to handcuff her, she unexpectedly took him hostage. With her arrogant nature, she declared she would never submit to anyone. She was determined not to let North and South Korea be unified. Lloyd would not allow her to achieve her goal. He wanted her to pay for all the crimes she had committed. Young-ha looked at her with hatred in her eyes. Young-ha's hand tightened around the gun, but her fingers trembled, not daring to pull the trigger, because she knew that one wrong move would cause everything to explode. Secretary Kang also tried to intervene, but in the end, he accidentally shot Lloyd, causing him to fall heavily to the ground. At that moment, the door burst open, and the police rushed in to control the situation. They immediately forcibly took Mayor Lee away. Young-ha rushed to Lloyd's side, her face wet with tears. She thought this might be her last chance, so she confessed her feelings to him. In that moment, Lloyd smiled. He lifted his bulletproof vest, his eyes filled with joy and a hint of teasing for the cold female commander. He said that even though he was forgetful, he always remembered to wear his bulletproof vest before going into battle. Young-ha burst into tears, scolding him while laughing, then rushed to hug him tightly. She gave him a kiss in her emotion. That very night, television was filled with shocking news. Mayor Lee's entire plot to divide the country was exposed to the public. The people were outraged and demanded justice, and only one sentence could appease this anger: life imprisonment. Now the female mayor had to live out the rest of her life in the contempt of the entire nation. Lloyd and Young-ha, along with their comrades, stepped onto the podium to resounding applause. Finally, the North and South had left their hatred behind and were united. Lloyd leaned in and whispered a secret to Young-ha. Behind today's success, there was someone who had silently paid the price, and that was Jae-hoon. Without Jae-hoon's sacrifice, Lloyd wouldn't be standing here. Hearing that name, Young-ha's eyes welled up with tears. Jae-hoon would be someone Young-ha would never forget. Sometime later, Young-ha's younger sister had a successful surgery. After many trials, Lloyd and Young-ha were finally together. At a fellow soldier's wedding, the wedding bouquet unexpectedly fell into Young-ha's hands. Cheers erupted, while Lloyd just stood there smiling. That's all for today's episode. Thank you for your attention and for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.